Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Spider-Man. New York's still kind of on fire everywhere.
Look at that, like right in the center of frame, Avengers Tower. Where are you guys?
There's the mole man.
I mean, it'd be
Mole man.
they're,
Yeah.
they're in the middle of a Jackbox session.
I was saying assemble.
so I get it. I definitely do. That like they don't want to bring the Avengers in because they're still trying to figure out what they want to do with the Avengers in the video game space at this point.
Is the Crystal Dynamics Avengers game in canon with this?
No.
No.
Nope.
Okay.
No, unfortunately, we do not have a big old cohesive Marvel video game universe, even though arguably this medium is much better for that sort of thing than movies are. But
I mean, with Insomniac making the Wolverine game, I'm going to assume that it's going to be in canon with this, but...
I mean, that would be cool. Again, because video games are longer form things. You can fit in cameos. You can have characters grow and stuff. A lot closer to what the intent for the comics was. You know.
I mean, they really just have to do what Falcom does with the Trails series, and they'd have a cohesive, expanded universe. You don't even have to do it on that scale. Just make games be mindful of where they are on the timeline and make sure that the world is the star of the story. But oh boy.
Oh, God, someone wiped their ass with this. Oh, thank God, it's just blood.
He wiped it off so that he could sample it.
Oh boy, science time.
Wonderful. More puzzles.
So you guys read any good books lately?
I've been reading
I was actually just rereading Kingdom
I've
Come.
been reading a ton of fan fiction on my Kindle because it doesn't take too much thought, and I've been sick the past half a month. So right now I'm reading a story, a Breath of the Wild story that's literally following from the ending where Link doesn't remember anything because you were lazy and didn't go after the memories. And it's surprisingly interesting. But that's all I got.
Some people could say lazy. Other people could say determined to rescue the princess as soon as possible.
Well, yeah, but he also bought the house.
Oh,
so
okay. No, then he's lazy. Then he's absolutely lazy.
He filled in half the Hyrule Compendium, and Zelda's she's taking the slate, crawling around in the grass, trying to fill in the blanks by finding all the rare bugs. And what else? He definitely did the Divine Beast
Spider-Man?
quests. I'm trying to remember
glowy shit that we're following.
Detective mode.
Detective mode. Okay, it reminds me of the smell-o-vision from Twilight Princess. Actually,
I was thinking, well, we're tracking Jim Gordon's breath.
Yeah, that was weird.
No, Frank Bowles.
oh yeah, that
Frank
was
Bowles'
a
breath.
thing. I forgot that was an actual thing that
Chases
they
someone's
had.
breath. Then later we follow Jim Gordon's tobacco chewings.
What?
At least
leaves,
that leaves a visible trace, technically speaking.
Gordon leaves a trail of tobacco chewings for Batman to follow because he knew he'll track it down. So I can just imagine Jim as he's being dragged, he's going. What are you doing?
I think it's more the shavings from his tobacco pipe is more the thing.
No, okay, I thought it was tobacco chew.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't chew. He smokes.
Man.
Yeah, but he uses a pipe though, it's the 1940s.
Yeah.
Wow.
He does.
So
You're very old-fashioned.
We found Octavius's conspiracy theorist den. Great.
Has he been saying this crap the entire time?
He's been monologuing.
I'm just picturing Peter juggling the frickin' recorder as he listens to it, nodding slowly to himself, puts it down, walks
My
halfway
boss is
across the
crazy.
room, and then he was like, "Oh wait, shit, that was Otto."
My boss is angry. Oh, look, Red X is... X-Men, here we come.
No
Oh,
Red X
man.
jumped universes. Who is a canon character now?
Okay, so you know what? Here's my theory. The X-Men, they were around to help, but none of the Spider-Man villains are actually mutants, so they were like, he's got this, it's fine.
Oh, so he's like sealed inside the suit.
Yeah.
So wait, so he can't get out? Oh, Rhino. Okay, I thought
Yeah,
you were
Rhino.
talking about Doc.
Well, that was always the thing with the Rhino,
Yeah, he
wasn't he?
can't.
Like
He
was
cannot
always.
take it off.
Dude, I've never seen anything involving Rhino's origin story. He just sort of bum rushes his way into Spider-Man stories that I've seen, fights Spider-Man, and there's some humorous quips, and then he's down. So,
Yeah, well, that's
I mean,
the
that's
best
Rhino in a
use of
nutshell.
that's the best use for him is to be a mini boss. So you know.
It's rare for me to admit this, Mr. Gargan. Clearing your debts was more difficult than I anticipated.
I got nothing else to do.
I don't know. I don't know why they let you do this in the first place.
And as I sit here recording these monologues for you, hoping someone out there is not spinning it like a fucking Harlem Globetrotter basketball, I wonder, do you accept Bitcoin?
Oh God. What Spider-Man villain would be most likely to make their own stupid Bitcoin?
let me think.
Screwball.
Oh,
What?
Screwball, absolutely. No, Screwball sells
Screwball.
NFTs.
Well,
Yes. She needs to be
Screwball
stopped.
wouldn't make her own. She'd just shill for one that already exists. Come on.
No, I think she'd make her own and then shill the hell out of it.
No, but that's not the reason you shill for an NFT or for anything is because someone else pays you to do it.
No, Screwball steals other people's artwork and makes them NFTs.
Yeah, which is illegal, by the way. Don't do that.
But she's a
Oh
villain.
yeah.
so-
Oh damn it.
It wasn't my fault. I just right-clicked. You can't arrest me on that.
I accidentally hit the button in Adobe Photoshop that does it.
You're going to jail, Lewis.
Okay.
So this is the every villain is a tragic figure.
Well, I mean,
room.
a lot of the Spider-Man villains do legitimately have tragic backstories. It's just this works when we get to meet them one by one and have this be like a payoff for having fought them all this whole time.
This is kind of
versus,
like that room.
Yeah, this is very
This is
backloaded.
kind of like that room in Resident Evil 8 where like you just find all of the books about the Four Lords.
Oh, that's right. It's exactly like that.
It's almost like these guys should have been introduced one by one as the game went on, and then we have them all team up.
Showing up at the end, yeah.
Like the actual fucking Sinister Six, you know?
No, Ted, you have to know. One of the complaints for the first Arkham Asylum was that there weren't enough villains, so we're going to put all of Spider-Man's villains in here.
It seems reasonable.
And leave no one else for the next games besides Venom.
Well,
So-
you would only need Venom, obviously.
After all of this, there isn't a boss fight where you fight all 6 of the 6 at the same time, is there?
Nope.
That would be cool, and I hope they do it at some point.
It sounds like it would be obnoxious, but
it
Instead,
depends
you
on
get
how it's structured.
instead you get 3 2-on-2 fights.
that's more reasonable.
Yeah, but like the setup for this is that like all 6 of the Sinister Six dogpile him and like outnumber him. So a situation where you take on all 6 at once and somehow manage to get the better of them is like the logical conclusion of that arc, rather than just divide and conquering them.
I think
Because
that's,
what's stopping them from just doing this again later?
And I'm not saying that
they're
they
locked in
necessarily.
jail, so definitely nothing bad will ever happen.
And I'm not saying that they need to have that boss fight in the same game that these 6 are introduced, but at some point in this series, it would be a really, like, great payoff. And,
Makes sense.
you know,
Rhino's targeting Oscorp's shoreline properties. Which is he hitting first?
I mean, in this situation, the group being divided up and sent across the city makes sense.
Oscorp-owned property.
But
Icarus. This is it.
so when is Peter gonna find out that his aunt is sick?
Neural interface is exacerbated.
He's too
When
busy with other
she
things.
reveals that she's sick
He'll destroy the whole
in the
city for
dramatic reveal that she got the thing.
Yeah, but like when is that gonna happen? And why is it going to happen in the hospital? Because nobody can ever tell anybody anything in this universe.
I'm
Otto Octavius. There is no Icarus, is there?
No. Martin needs no assistance to secure the anti-serum. Icarus was a ruse to get you into position.
Oh.
Thanks for playing your hand. Now, if you had just blown it up like before he even did anything, he wouldn't have escaped.
Yeah, if you,
Indeed.
Yeah, even if the spider sense went off, I don't think he would have had enough time.
So refreshing to work for a man like Octavius.
I see that Vulture's
Michael
not
Keaton.
any more interesting as
No.
he normally is.
No.
Are you okay? What's happening?
Again, the best incarnation of Vulture was Michael Keaton's
Well,
performance.
because he was Michael Keaton.
Yes.
Listen, Lee's gunning for the anti-serum. We need to find
Like, but see, what was
breath lab before he does.
the non-Spider-Man guy talking here? What was Vulture's like roots? Like,
He's the first Spider-Man
why was he
villain,
the way
so
he
that's
was?
something. The thing is he was just a thief that was angry that people didn't like his Vulture shit. Like, he's not all that interesting, and from what I'm aware, I don't think that anything other than the Spider-Man Homecoming ever did anything more interesting with him. Like,
Yeah, so I think just by default, that's what makes him more interesting in Homecoming. But I also just think he was a really good.
he
villain
is
in
a
Homecoming
really
as well.
good villain on his own merits in Homecoming. I agree with you there.
Yeah.
I just think that there's just,
Vulture's
there's
one
not
of those.
a lot to his powers because,
He's
like,
just a guy who flies.
here, don't get me wrong, flight is one of the coolest powers in terms of like just if you could have it, but in terms of being super powered, flight without like super strength doesn't let you do much.
And there are plenty of other heroes and villains who can fly and do other stuff, so Vulture just comes
Yeah.
off as small time.
So it's kind of like,
Yeah, like normally, like to make him at least somewhat more threatening, like the jetpack makes him fly really fast, or like the wings are bladed, or some shit, like.
but standard flight is like bare minimum in order to make an impact as a hero or villain.
Well, not necessarily.
No, not. I would agree that you don't necessarily just. It's not super. I guess the only thing that's threatening about it is that Peter's fairly grounded. He needs he needs to jump off of stuff. Peter cannot fly.
Well, I'm talking more how to make yourself stand out amongst a very crowded roster. It's like, what makes Vulture special? He can fly. Okay, Shocker can fly. Not Shocker. Fucking, I did it again. Electro.
I'm glad I'm not the only one who gets the two mixed up all the time. So
Gotta be honest, liked it better when you two were loners.
Okay.
Well, that's right. You handle them in pairs.
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier.
So it's not even 6 boss fights. It's 3.
I mean, that's cool on its own.
honestly, it makes some of the more one-note Spider-Man villains more interesting when they are working together like this.
It's more like now the Terrible 2, though.
I mean, this boss fight is very kinetic.
No, this
And-
this is the best one. The others are not. They're not like terrible, but they're not like amazing either.
Well, it's because this one's aerial, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
like Electro and Vulture can both fly.
About to do it,
so
too.
so you have to like manage the physics of your web slinging throughout the entire fight. The rest of them, I assume, are kind of just grounded fist fight kind of ordeals.
Generally,
right?
yeah.
And this is like the thing that makes Vulture like work as a Spider-Man villain is the fact that he can fly, Spider-Man can't, and that kind of fighting is interesting to think about.
Yeah, that's like the one of the big things that makes any fight with him like kind of work. It's just that the big thing about Vulture isn't his powers. Like you can make anybody with subpower powers interesting with enough creativity. It's the personality. There's just nothing really to him, unfortunately. Versus Electro. Electro does have some subpar portrayals, but he also has some really good portrayals in some other things. Like, again, I know I've probably brought it up a billion times at this point, but if you haven't watched Spectacular Spider-Man, you should watch it. It's got my favorite Electro. There is, however, also Jamie Foxx Electro from Amazing Spider-Man 2. So, like, the universe must balance itself out Sadly. Oh man, what were they doing with that movie? I don't get it.
What were they doing with that duology, I would say?
They were trying to keep the Spider-Man license from Disney. That's what they were doing.
Basically, yeah.
With those movies.
Yeah, they needed to make a certain number of movies in a certain amount of time.
And honestly, it wasn't even that they weren't MCU that made them not great. It's just that they were unfocused. You know.
Which is a shame, because I think Andrew Garfield made a good Spider-Man.
Andrew Garfield was an interesting take on Spider-Man. I agree. Mainly because, like, it was a different kind of awkward nerd that I don't think we'd ever really seen them try to do with Spider-Man before. The big thing about it is just that, you know, it didn't really work. Because the tone of the movies was just too grim. And you don't watch a Spider-Man movie for something grim. You go to a different property for that.
Electro's been grounded.
Electro's been grounded. You see, that was a smart joke.
I mean, they did the Yo Adrian joke, and Electro actually responded to it, so.
By killing innocent people?
I would have restored the power.
You're sick. You need help.
I have all the help I need, and we will not stop until Norman gets what
Okay.
he deserves.
It's kind of funny because there's usually this element in superhero stories where the hero creates the villain, but it's usually like some kind of semi-moral statement about vigilantism where they create the villain by being the vigilante. Whereas in this case, it's more like Peter Parker created Otto. And that would have
it's not
happened
really
regardless of the
Peter's-
superhero thing.
It's not really Peter's fault.
Oh yeah.
You know?
He-
Like-
he helped give Otto the push he needed to reach the final phase of his plan, you know?
Yeah, but with that said, you know, Peter also didn't think that things would go like.
Oh
this,
yeah, I
you
know. But what I'm saying is that this is more personal to Peter Parker rather than to Spider-Man. Which is the inverse of how it usually works in this kind of situation. Where like, you know, fucking Joker and Batman are like fated to always be battling, and it has nothing the fuck to do with Bruce Wayne, you know, to the point where like they're in some like takes on the topic, Joker literally doesn't want to know who Batman is.
Yeah, I remember, I forget which one it was, but I think there's one version of Joker who like could find out and actively chooses not to.
He's like Batman at one point. I think this is his Death of the Family. He flashes back to the scene where he visits Joker in prison, looks through his jail cell as Bruce Wayne and says, "I'm Batman," and the Joker ignores him.
No, he holds up a Joker card that he would only have in his
If he was
possession if he
Batman.
were Batman.
Ah.
And Joker just looks at the card,
Yeah.
and he just doesn't acknowledge him.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
because he didn't want to see his face. Okay.
No, it's just more like he doesn't care.
He doesn't care, and, you know, he's psychotic, so it's like he may not even just recognize that Bruce Wayne was even there.
Yeah.
Well, the implication was that Joker didn't want to know because it would spoil his games.
Yeah. Until Endgame, anyway, where that's kind of like turned over its head.